So first things first, what I want to do is create a folder on my desktop, and I'll say come here new. What I done? Sorry, come here new folder, and then I'll call this Sonia because this is just basically the name of the virtual assistant we're trying to build. And here I will come here and say open with code. Open with code here. If you don't have open with code here, you can actually open your Visual Studio Code. I'll still explain that. That basically means you didn't add Python to your path. Sorry, VS Code to your path. So if you don't have that, you could just open your Visual Studio Code, come here and say open folder. When you click open folder, and anywhere choose, you can choose to create that folder anywhere. You could click it on your desktop and you create. Just click on new folder, and then when you're done with naming the folder, creating the folder, you click select folder, and then it's going to open this folder inside of this window. So here we have Sonia inside of uh, inside of this. So the first thing is there are a couple of libraries we have to install. There are a couple of libraries we have to install. So basically, these are models, but they are not inbuilt. These models are not inbuilt into um, they're not inbuilt into Python. So we're going to be installing this ourselves. So the first thing you want to do is you want to open your I'm sorry, please just 1 sec. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is install packages or modules uh, that's going to help us build this uh, virtual assistant. So the first module is called let me just create a file here. I'll call this file app.py, and inside of this file, the first module we're going to uh, install is called pi okay, pi tt x and 3. This is the first module we are going to install. So what we will do is we have to just open our command line, our terminal here. You could come here on your terminal here, and then you click my terminal, and then this will open for you. So I have two PowerShells, so I'll just close down one. And let me. So what you do is you will say pip install pi tt sx3. So already I have this installed in my system. So, but what you do is just click enter, and then Python is going to install python3s for you. You can see here it's already saying requirement already satisfied, which means I already have this inside of my system. So what this module is going to help us do is that, or this file is going to help us do is that, it's going to help us convert our text to speech. This is what is going to help us make Sonia talk. This is what's going to help us make Sonia speak to us. So this is basically Pi means Python, and this basically means text to speech. So I don't know what this X means, but this means version 3. So this is for Python 3. Python 3. So this means Python text to speech for Python 3. So we're making use of this library to build out Sonia for to enable her speak to us. So just like the program was built, the first thing that happened was Sonia spoke to us, right? She said, hello, I'm Sonia, your virtual companion. Here's a list of what I could do. So building this approach, we're going to be using object-oriented programming, of which um, um, was taught using classes. Yeah, we went through this in one of our classes, using classes. So we're going to be using class to build this whole entire program because it's very good to follow the object-oriented programming structure for building a fully fledged software that's going to scale. So first things first, I'm going to create a model. I'll call this Sonia. I call this Sonia skills, and inside of Sonia skills, we always because what we're building now, we're building a model. Sorry, we're building a model where we can access a lot of um, AI features. We can access a lot of um, features from Sonia, right? Sonia can help us tell riddles. Sonia can tell riddles. Sonia can tell us jokes. Sonia can she can also play music for us, right? and she can speak to us. She can also understand what we are telling her. So these are four distinctive attributes for Sonia. So we could write all of that inside of this file, app.py, but that will make our file so cumbersome. That will make our file look so huge, so dirty, and it's not proper conversion. It's not clean. It's not concise to write programs that way. Instead, we split all of this inside of a class. We build a class, split all of it, put it inside of a model, and then import it into this file. Remember, we've done models in Python, we've done classes in Python, and I even went through a typical example of how to create a model and a class inside of it and how to import that same model. So I'm walking through that same process again, although I will not be explaining everything again from the start because I've already explained all of that previously. So what we are trying to do now is create a model, and inside of our model here, we'll create an initialization. This is what happens whenever you're trying to create a model. You must include this file, and this file is always empty. Init underscore underscore init underscore dot py. This is always empty, and um, inside of this file, inside of this model called Sonia, we want to create a file. And okay, I'll just click on that, and then inside of the file, I want to say call this file sonia underscore speak dot py. So this whole file now will be responsible for the feature where Sonia is going to be able to speak to us. So whenever we want Sonia to speak to us, we're going to always call this file and then call the method that we're going to the method of the instance of the class that we are going to declare, right? So remember I said in order to talk to in order for Sonia to be able to speak to us, we installed a model. We installed a you call it a module, a library, or a package. We installed a package in Python to help us make Sonia speak, to give Sonia a voice. And in order to do this, we need to make use of this module right now. And in order to do this now, we need to import the model inside of our file so that we can make use of this model. And now to import this, we use the import keyword, and then what follows is the name of the model we installed, which is pi tt x and then 3. And now the thing is, this name is too long. I want to shorten it. I want to shorten it. So I'll just say as tts, right? I don't want to use the whole name here to be working with Sonia. I prefer reducing my name length for a model. So this is how I prefer doing it. So I could say as TTS. So what TTS means, TTS is still PyTTS, but this is me reducing the name. This is kind of like assigning a variable. This is more like assigning a variable to PyTTS and then calling PyTTS and calling TTS. But instead of me to write this line, I'll just call as TTS. Then the next thing we need to create is a class. And the name of our class is called Sonia Speak, right? Instead of Sonia Speak, we want to initialize a variable. We'll say div the init function underscore and then call self keyword, self parameter inside of it. And then inside here, so this is basically we want to set whenever this class is being called, the first thing we want to do is that we want to set up Sonia's voice. So this would always run whenever you call this, or whatever is declared inside of this init function will always run. And then we'll say self speaker, right? Speaker is equal to tts dot init. So what we're basically doing here is initializing the PyTTS3 model. So we're just getting the model ready. We're initializing the engine for the Python text to speech model. So this is what we're going to be interacting with. This is the main thing we're going to be interacting with to um, let Sonia speak with us. So this is basically, like I said, get TTS, which is PyTTS3, initialize the 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 engine for Sonia to speak. That is what this is doing. Initialize this for Sonia to speak, and we're taking that and we're storing that inside of a variable, and the variable name is called speaker. The reason why we tag self.speaker is for because speaker is an instance of this class. So that's for self.speaker. So next thing we're going to do is say self, right? The speaker, which is this Sonia's voice. Now, Sonia voice, and then we'll say dot set property. Like you don't have to do all of this. The rest of what I'm writing underneath, you don't have to do this, but I'll give an explanation of why I'm getting this done. So I'll say rate. I'll explain this. I'll say 160. So you could also play around with this value and then try to explore what this does more. But I'm going to still explain. So this part now. It's kind of like this is a method tacked on to this engine, to this model. This is a method here. Set property is a method of this instance. So we're saying self.speaker here dot set property, which is a method. So we want to set the rate at which Sonia is going to speak to us. I don't want her to speak too fast. I don't want her to speak too slow. So I'm going to set that rate at 160. If I want it to be very low, if I want it to be very slow, sorry, I'll reduce 160 to something about 50. If I want it to be very fast, I'm going to increase it to 200, and you see Sonia will be like speaking very fast. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to set Sonia's voice. We want to make, because initially this library is going to sound like a man, right? Yeah, it's going to sound like a man. That's a male voice. Default setting is a male voice. So basically we're saying self dot voice, which is another variable we're declaring. And inside of this, we're saying self dot speaker again, right? Remember, this is the voice engine. This is the speech engine. This is what um, will enable Sonia speak. So we're calling that variable where we store this TTS dot init, and then we're saying self dot speaker, which is stored inside of here. We want to get property, and there are two arguments we're going to pass in. We'll pass in voice, uh, voice, and then the next thing we want to pass in is self. Don't worry, I'll explain this code. Self.voices index one dot id. Yeah, so you just want to do this in. So this is self.speaker, which is this self.speaker dot get property, right? Self.speaker dot get property. So the property we're trying to get, remember the first property we did was to set this property. But now what we're trying to do, we're going to get a list of property. Get property is going to get us a list of the voices we have inside of this model. So we tacked on the first argument, which is saying the kind of property we want to get is the voice. We don't care about any other thing, but we just care about the voice. And the voice, you could tell from the voice of a human being if the person is a male or if the person is a female. So at this point, we want to make the voice a female. We don't want a male. Now, by default, this PyTTS3 speech model, text-to-speech model, comes with a male voice by default. So we're resetting that, setting that to self.voices, right? Self.voices. What am I? Oh, I think I did something wrong. Okay, so just permit me. So sorry about this. So just permit me. I'm going to cut this line of code here. Okay, I'll just take this here. I'll get rid of this. I made a mistake. Sorry, apologies. I'll explain. Say self dot speaker dot set property and voice. Yeah, voice self dot voices index one dot ID. Yeah, so this is voices and this is voice. Right. Okay, so self.voices, we declare the variable called self.voice, and then we're calling the self.speaker, which is the variable here, self.speaker, and then we're getting the property of voices. So what this is going to return to us is a list of all the voices that are in this Python text-to-speech. So we have a male voice and we have a female voice, right? And what we now want, okay, we've gotten a list of these voices. Okay, we want to set the property of a female voice. So we now said self.speaker, right? We're calling the text-to-speech model, And then we're saying, I want to set the property. What property do we want you to set? Voice. We want to set voice property, right? And inside of the voice property, okay, what exact voice do you want? Is it female voice or the male voice? So we'll say self.voices, this returns a list. And then we use one to tack on the index, which is get us the second voice. Which the second voice is an ID. Sorry, the second voice is a female voice. And then when getting the second voice, the the female voice has an ID. So we have to say dot ID to tack on that ID to let us know that okay, this we want to make use of the female voice. We want to make use of the female voice identity, the female voice ID. We want to identify the voice by a female. So this is it for setting up uh, Sonia's voice, setting up Sonia's speech. This would always run every time we call this class. So the next thing we need to do is we need to build a method. Now remember that a method is an instance of a class or a function that belongs to a class. So we'll create a method called speak. Now this method will be responsible for Sonia speaking, right? What we did here was to set up Sonia's voice. So what we're doing now is we're trying to create a function or a method where Sonia is going to speak to us. So we'll pass in the self parameter and then we'll take in a text. So this is basically a text of what we want Sonia to say. So as a parameter, and then here we'll say self.speaker. Remember this guy, which is what would enable Sonia to talk. So self.speaker dot say. Say is a method. So this say now is going to take in the text here and is going to convert that to a voice, right? This say is going to take in the text and then it's going to convert that to a voice. And then as soon as we do that, what we want to do is we want to call in the self.speaker again, and we want to call in another method or let's say function that says run and wait. What this is going to do is that I'll explain practically again. I just do hope I remember. So what this is going to help us do is that whenever Sonia is speaking, Sonia, before anything happens, right? Before anything happens, this would run first. And when it finish running, uh, then any other thing can then happen in our code. I'll explain this practically so that it will be clear enough. Explain this practically. So the thing is, whatever is um, okay, okay. I think I should explain this practically, right? So yeah, so here I'll just say print my okay, let's just do this. Sonia just spoke and uh, the first thing we'll do is Sonia, creating our user object, Sonia object, and then we say Sonia dot speak, and then we'll say Sonia, we want Sonia to speak to us, right? So Sonia dot speak, right? And then we'll pass in hello, precious, right? Yeah. So this, we just initialize this object here, which is this guy, and then we're saying Sonia dot speak. We're trying to call this method, and whenever we do this or do this, this initialize method is going to run. So I'm just going to save this and then put this on the screen.
Hello, Precious.
So I believe you guys heard that. So notice something that happened. So as soon as whilst Sonia was trying to say this, remember this is an argument and it was passed in here as the text. And then self.speaker.say text. Sonia, this say converts the text to a voice. While this was running, while she was speaking, right? While she was speaking, this code was not running. This code wasn't running. It was after she finished speaking, this code ran. So that was what run and wait means. Everything here would wait until this has finished running. So that's why I have to do that to explain. So yeah, so I'll just get rid of this and then I'll save this. So we've just built the part where Sonia can say anything, like literally anything we tell her to say. And then we'll come to our app model I'll get rid of this stuff. Remember, this is my visual hierarchy. Here is the Sonia skills model. Here's our app, our main app um, file where we're going to be building our logic. That all those logic I explained will just be here. And then the skills of Sonia will be inside of the model. So the first thing is we want to access the model where Sonia will be able to speak. So we'll say from Sonia underscore skills. So this is basically from this here, from Sonia skills, you get dot Sonia speak. Dot Sonia speak, right? We want to do what we want to import. What do we want to import? If we check inside of the Sonia speak model, we want to import the Sonia speak class. So here we'll say import capital letter X Sonia speak. So we have to initialize this Sonia speak here, call the object. So here I'll just say Sonia is equal to Sonia, nope, Sonia speak, just like this. And that's it. So the first thing, the next thing we want to do, we want to make Sonia speak to us, right? In order to make Sonia to speak to us, we should look at our method. Here we created a speak method that would help Sonia speak to us, right? So we need to say Sonia dot speak. What do we want Sonia to say? The first thing Sonia says in our program was, "Hello, I'm Sonia, your virtual companion. Here is a list of what I could do." Yeah. So Sonia is going to say this. That's the first thing that happens in our program. So let's save this and let's run this.
Hello, I'm Sonia, your virtual companion. Here is a list of what I could do.
Wow, awesome. So you could see we just built the first version. We just done the first thing that Sonia did. So the second thing she did was to print to us a list of what she could do. Remember we talked about doc strings, so we're going to use a doc string here to format this whole code. Said tell a joke, and then the next thing she said was play a riddle, and then the next thing she said was play you a music. Yeah, so let's save this and then print this.
Hello, I'm Sonia, your virtual companion. Here is a list of what I could do.
And then she tells you the list of what she could do. Now, when she was talking, you did not see this. The reason why that was happening because inside of sonia.speak, yeah, we had self.speaker.run and wait. So this whole code will wait while this would run. So that's what's basically happening. In a more advanced level, like what is happening behind the scene is what we know as multi-processing or multi-threading, which is more an advanced concept in Python. So that's for this video. So in the next video, we'll be looking at how to initialize a while loop so that Sonia could go through the iterative process of asking us questions and we replying and all that. So that's it for this session. Thank you.